Well, I tried to tell you that every year my week one picks absolutely suck. And this year was certainly no exception. And I would argue it's probably the worst week one performance that I've ever had. And now granted, there's a lot of crazy crap that happened last week. I mean, let's be clear. You know, how many people were really picking the Seahawks to beat the Broncos or even cover the 6.5 point spread? How many people were picking the Bears to beat the 49ers or even cover the 7-point spread? Well, I did, but I picked them to cover the spread. I didn't pick them to win. Now, who picked the Giants to beat the Titans on the road in week one? I could go on and on and on. Just all types of crazy stuff. The Falcons coughing up a 16-point fourth quarter lead. Again, I could go on and on and on. I'm not trying to make excuses, but it speaks to the volatility of week one is that it's almost a crapshoot coin flip when you're picking week one because you're really not going off of much. You're just not. What are you going off of? Preseason, training camp, and paper predictions? And we know how accurate those can be sometimes. So yeah, I only was 5-11 picking winners last week. God, that was embarrassing. 7-9 against the spread. Just an all-around shitty performance. So I'm hoping that week two is going to be better. Otherwise, you guys can take to the comments and you can embarrass the ever-loving hell out of me. Thursday night, I did think the Chargers were going to win the game, honestly, but I was pretty confident they were going to cover the 4.5 point spread. By hook or by crook, it doesn't matter. While they didn't win the game, God damn it, they got that backdoor cover, so at least 1 out of 2, that ain't bad! But still off to a kind of middling start to the week. So yeah, I'm certainly hoping that week two is going to be better. So let's talk about my week two picks. The early games on Sunday. You've got the Jets with Joe Flacco traveling to Cleveland to take on Jacoby Brissett and the Browns. The Browns are 6.5 point favorites here. They struggled to beat the Panthers on the road in week one. Meanwhile, the Jets looked like doo-doo against the Ravens in week one. And again, you take the week one results for whatever they are. I'll take the Browns minus a 6.5. I'm not that confident in that, but I'm not confident, I don't think, in any of these picks right now based off of what I've seen. Switching over to the Washington Commanders! Oh, God, here come the Commanders fans! Carson went through for over 400 yards, or 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in week one. He is legit. He is that dude. All right, keep telling yourselves that. Good luck to you. I hope it goes well for you. Traveling to Detroit to take on Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, who came through at least with a backdoor cover against the Eagles last week. But the Eagles absolutely shredded the Lions on the ground. When you look at this matchup, it's kind of surprising to me that Detroit's a 1.5 point favorite. But you know what? I'm going to show a little belief in the Lions here. I will take Detroit minus the 1.5. You've got the Buccaneers traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints, and Tom Brady and the Bucs' recent history against the Saints has not been very good. Certainly, especially when Drew Brees was there. But this has been a team that Tampa Bay has struggled with. I look at the Saints and say they've got Jameis. They came back in the fourth quarter. They found a way to beat the Falcons after being down 16 points in the fourth. A big Will Lutz 51-yard field goal to win it very late. That said, I'll take the Buccaneers here by 2.5. You got the Panthers traveling to the Giants. Brian Daboll with his first win as a head coach. You know, go for the win and you get rewarded by the football gods sometimes, and that's what they did. And crazy enough, the Giants are 2-point favorites here. You know, if you're a Giants fan and you were told before the season that, hey, the Giants could potentially have a path to starting 2-0 here, you'd probably take that. Meanwhile, the Panthers, I thought they put up a game fight against the Browns in week one. I like the Panthers in this one. Give me Carolina plus the 2. You've got the Patriots traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. The Patriots are 2.5 point favorites. So even though the Patriots got shelled by Miami in week one and Pittsburgh beat the defending AFC champions, the Steelers are 2.5 point underdogs here. Okay, then. Does Vegas know something I don't? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I'll ride with them on this one, though. Give me New England minus the 2.5. You've got the Colts traveling to Jacksonville to take on the Jags. The Jags with a rough late loss to the Commanders in week one. And then, of course, the Colts coming out on fire with that tie with the Houston Texans. I'll take the Colts minus the 3. And then you've got a fun game coming up on that early Sunday slate. You've got Tua and the Dolphins traveling to Baltimore to take on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. If you remember last year, the Ravens had a lot of problem. I think it was in the Thursday night game with Miami's defensive front. Like, they were able to get pressure on Lamar all night. It was just a really, really bad night for them. Baltimore's favored by 3.5 here. This should be a fun one. But I believe Baltimore's going to be without like three of their top four, all top four of their secondary guys on Sunday. I like Miami in this one. Give me Miami in an upset plus the 3.5. Switching over to the Sunday late games, you got the Falcons traveling to Los Angeles to take on the Rams. And boy, I tell you, I know the Falcons may not be very good, but the Rams looked like they stunk last Thursday during that kickoff game. Now, I know you could say that was against the damn Bills, who are a contender, and there was one game, and they'll bounce back, and maybe they do, but 10 points feels a bit ambitious here. I like the Rams to win, but maybe the Falcons to cover the 10-point spread. You've got Seattle traveling to San Francisco to take on the 49ers, and the 49ers are favored by 9. Did they not watch these two teams in week 1? And again, I understand. It's 1 week, does not a season make. 1 week is just a fluke. But the Seahawks beat the Broncos, and the 49ers lost to the Bears. So either this Vegas line is Vegas saying the Bears are a lot better than we originally gave them credit for, or the Seahawks really aren't that good because the Broncos really aren't that good. I don't know, man. Like, yes, I think the 49ers will win week 2, but I like Seattle to cover that 9-point spread. That's a little too big for me. You got the Bengals coming off of that rough performance by Burrow, 5 turnovers in that loss in overtime to the Steelers, traveling to Dallas to take on Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. Yeah, give me Cincinnati minus the 7. I have no confidence that they can move the ball offensively with Cooper Rush. You've got the Texans traveling to Denver to take on Russell Wilson and the Broncos. And again, I agree. I think Denver wins this game, but Houston being 10-point underdogs seems incredibly ridiculous. What did Denver show you in week 1 to indicate that they should be such massive favorites here? Give me Denver to win. Give me Houston to cover the 10. And then you've got the Cardinals traveling to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders, a matchup of teams that lost in week 1. The Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. I like the Raiders to win and the Cardinals to cover the spread. Get to the big matchup, relatively speaking, on Sunday night. It's a rivalry game, except it's all one-sided, which even for Packers fans, like at some point in time, you might say, as much as you like kicking around the Bears twice a year, at some point in time, that gets a little boring too. I like to mix it up a little bit, you know? Makes it mean a whole lot more. It really does. The Bears coming off of their week 1 win over the 49ers, traveling to Lambeau to take on the Packers, who start 0-1 after that bad performance in Minnesota last Sunday. The Packers maybe due off of history and the assumption that there's going to be a big bounce-back performance combined with a lot of people not thinking very highly of the Bears. The Packers are 10-point favorites here. As tempting as it is in a lot of ways for me to want to pick the Bears, maybe I don't want to put the Jeff jinx on them. I'll pick Green Bay to win, but that 10-point spread, that's a lot. I'd smash Chicago plus the 10 all day right now. I'm sorry, I would. And then, for some reason, we got the doubleheader this Monday night instead of having it in week 1, which is strange. But you got 2 Monday night games. You got Tennessee traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bills, and the Bills are 10-point favorites. You know, the Bills are legit. They're a contender. I'd expect Tennessee to bounce back and play a little better in week 2. Buffalo, if they clean it up and don't turn the ball over so much, like they're going to be a real problem this year. But I like Buffalo to win, but I do like Tennessee to cover that 10-point spread. And then what is under the radar here is a really good game in week 2. Kevin O'Connell and his Minnesota Vikings traveling to Philadelphia to take on Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, and the Eagles. The Eagles are favored by 2 here. When I look at this matchup, you know, the Packers had some pockets where they were able to run the ball on the Vikings in week 1, and the numbers bear that out. What I'm saying is that for a team like the Eagles that are able to run really, really well like they were in week 1 against Detroit, you know, that's a way that they could exploit the Vikings defense a little bit. Should be a lot of fun. I will take the Eagles minus the 2, though. So let me know what you guys are picking for week 2. Hopefully you did better than me in week 1. Maybe some of you had similar horror stories. Let's hope week 2 is better, all right?